This is Hoosier Ag Today. Good morning. I'm Andy Eubank with the morning edition on the 7th of October 2015. It is a Wednesday, and we have the latest Indiana farm news for you. Also, a look ahead with Ryan Martin's Indiana farm forecast and a look back at the Tuesday markets. It was another up day. We'll have the numbers and analysis with Arlen Suderman of Water Street Solutions. Coming up in the news, it's a Washington, D.C. fly-in for an Indiana delegation and groups from all around the country who are trying to gain support for national voluntary GMO labeling. I'll talk with Cline from Indiana Farm Bureau on the ground in Washington, D.C. Also, Hat was at a recent Indiana 4-H Congress. It was over the weekend. Gary Truitt was there, and he talks with the Hat 4-H Scholarship winner. The news is next here on the morning edition of Hoosier Ag Today.
Indiana Farm Bureau needs you. It's critical for your farm and family that your voice be heard daily. Farm Bureau membership tells legislators that Indiana agriculture stands together on property tax issues, farmland annexation, and water rules. Protect your livelihood and children's future by going online to infb.org/join or call 1-800-FARM-BUREAU. infb.org/join or call 1-800-FARM-BUREAU. Your membership brings value and benefits, but more importantly, it adds your voice to that of your neighbors and friends. Don't stand on the sidelines. Be heard on local, state, and national issues. We'll show you how. Indiana Farm Bureau needs you. Go to infb.org/join or call 1-800-FARM-BUREAU.
This is Hoosier Ag Today. I'm Andy Eubank reporting on Indiana agriculture. And this news is brought to you by DuPont Pioneer, sponsors of our agronomy page at HoosierAgToday.com. Check it out for regular harvest updates. The Coalition for Safe and Affordable Food is on the ground today in Washington, D.C. for their October GMO fly-in to meet with senators and promote introduction of the House bill that passed in July. 13 Hoosiers are part of the delegation representing agri-business, Indiana corn and soybean organizations, and Indiana Farm Bureau. Farm Bureau's Cline tells Hat the push is to get the legislation introduced in the Senate.
The bill has not yet been introduced in the Senate. We're here with the goal of getting it to the finish line, or at least getting the bill to be introduced and then bringing it to the finish line. There will be a hearing in the Senate Ag Committee on GMO labeling and biotechnology on October 21st. So we're hoping that our efforts here during the month of October with the broad coalition will be enough to get the bill to the finish line.
The coalition will be looking for Democrat sponsorship of the bill, and the Indiana delegation will meet their senators, Republican Dan Coates and Democrat Joe Donnelly.
We feel that we're in a good place so far with the Indiana delegation. We are here to solidify that support, but early signals, we're feeling good, but there's still a lot of work to be done, and a lot of work to be done when you look at other vital states and where it's urgent that we are able to bring some of those folks on board.
Cline says time is of the essence for a national law because state labeling laws would create consumer confusion and added food expense for each household.
For example, in Vermont, that law will go into effect next summer. So it's really important that we are able to preempt that effort, and we're able to come up with a common sense national GMO labeling system, voluntary system for the labeling foods, so that we can avoid the unnecessary increase in food costs, as well as ensuring that this vital biotechnology is available for farmers in the future.
Hear more from Cline in the full Hat interview at HoosierAgToday.com. Last weekend at the Indiana State Fairgrounds, over 90 of the state's top 4-H youth came together for the annual 4-H Congress. Gary Truitt and Hoosier Ag Today were there.
At the awards luncheon, 18 youth from across the state received 4-H Foundation scholarships for a variety of achievements, including animal science, technology and engineering, citizenship, healthy living, and communications. Emily Clark from Warwick County received the Hoosier Ag Today Communications Scholarship. A 10-year 4-H member, she said 4-H changed her life.
4-H has really changed me as a person, especially in regard to my communication skills. I've always been more of a quiet person, but 4-H has taught me to express myself and to do that in a positive way, and I've really been able to use my skills, I believe, to help our community and our state.
A college freshman at Sanford University, she's majoring in communications.
So right now I'm thinking about doing possibly PR work, and I'd love to do that for an organization like 4-H or something that's a nonprofit that's helping their community.
She said it is important for those in 4-H to communicate what the organization is all about to those outside of 4-H.
How varied the opportunities are and how everybody can benefit, whether you're in the rural community or not. There's something for everybody in 4-H.
Some of Indiana's top agribusinesses support the Indiana 4-H Foundation, including CountryMark, Dow AgriSciences, Farm Credit Services, and Co-Alliance. I'm Gary Truitt.
And I'm Andy Eubank. This is Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with Hoosier Ag Today's Indiana Farm Forecast from the Wells Fargo Forecast Center. Generally speaking, we've got another decent day across the Hoosier state. The big question mark will be, how long does this moisture band stick around? By that, I mean the low clouds and fog that have been a dominant part of each of the past couple of mornings. We haven't really changed air mass much here, so as we go through the day today, we're probably looking at a similar breakout. Now, one thing that is a little bit different, we are seeing a little bit more of a mixing in the atmosphere out there. What I mean is this, we're seeing winds a little bit stronger, mixing the atmosphere top to bottom, and that should give us a better chance at getting out of this low cloud, fog, damp scenario. However, I also think it's going to take probably until a frontal boundary slides through late this week before we really, truly change air mass. Let's talk about that front a little bit. It continues to be uninspiring, honestly, as I look at it. Yeah, the front's there. Yes, it will come through. It does look like it's going to be a Friday event. Moisture, not impressive. Let's just put it this way. I'm backing my totals down to about 1/10 to maybe 5/10. And actually, I like 1/10 to 4/10 better. I think we're going to be seeing coverage at about 70% of the state, sweeping from northwest to southeast. But this front just doesn't have much to work with, and the reason why is we just haven't seen the strong low come together in the desert southwest. It got left behind, and this is a weaker low that's catching up with the front and will eject out of the central plains probably as we go through late this afternoon and into tomorrow. So not a big deal here. Scattered moisture, something that we can come back from fairly quickly and get right back into the harvest vein. The next system looks like it wants to move through around the 16th, 17th, 18th time frame. That one as well, not as impressive as it was a few days ago, but we told you that would be the case. You know what? The GFS model especially loves to just look at these storms and say, wow, fantastic rains when it's way out in the 15 to 16 day window. And then as you get closer, you ultimately get it to kind of calm down. That's what we're seeing here. The front's still there. I like half-inch rainfall totals, maybe. Open the range from 1/4 to 3/4. Coverage at about 70% over the entire Corn Belt. Here in Indiana, probably looking at 75% coverage with that front. The one thing I'm noticing, though, here in the pattern, we will continue to see more south winds or south flow dominate, which means that we should continue to see temperatures normal to even slightly above as we go through the end of the week and weekend. The only difference will be right there immediately following the cold front passage on Friday. I think we're going to be seeing slightly cooler air come in there, but by the time we get to Saturday afternoon, we're going to be good to go. Temperatures above normal. Most of the week next week will be dry as we wait for that next system to come in, and generally speaking, we've got good windows for harvest here. You can't really argue with the setup. No major cold coming anytime soon either, which means the frost will continue to stay at bay. We are now pretty much to the point where anything from this point on, we're extending the growing season beyond what it should be. That's the way the forecast is stacking up. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin on Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.
Monitor your grain anytime, any place with Grain Track from Co-Alliance. Grain Track uses the latest technology for remote temperature readings every 30 minutes. Let Grain Track remove the guesswork from grain storage so you don't need to drive, climb, or keep handwritten notes to track information. Save money on electricity and shrink by not over-drying. A typical installed system is only a few cents per bushel. For more information, check out Grain Track at coalliance.com. Grain Track bin monitoring only from Co-Alliance.
This is Hoosier Ag Today. It's the Tuesday Farm Market Review. I'm Andy Eubank with higher markets all around, and the review is brought to you by Seed Consultants, simply the best value in the seed industry. 800-708-2676, seedconsultants.com. I checked in mid-session on Tuesday with Arlen Suderman at Water Street Solutions, higher markets, and Arlen talked about the December corn contract, which exceeded the $3.95 level.
Yeah, and that's pretty significant. That's a level we've had trouble pushing through before. Farmer selling would increase at that level. Traders are reluctant to go above there until they felt a little bit more comfortable about the size of this year's crop. But we're getting pushed through there actually by outside forces. Major commodity indices are seeing a strong buy action this week. They're turning the charts higher, trying to confirm a multi-year bottom. And the trade volume in the grains is relatively low because in ag trade itself, we're waiting to see what the USDA crop report says. So in that environment, when the major commodity indices, of which corn as well as soybeans and wheat are a part, when they start making a big move and the trade volume is thin in the ag commodities, it makes it easier for them to push them around. This time around, that happens to be positive, so we'll take it.
Outside markets, it appeared today is one of those days where there's a definite influence with higher equity markets, or at least the Dow is up. Very strong crude oil. And metals are up and the dollar is weaker. So kind of a traditional outside market day that is generous for the grain markets.
Very much so. It has a positive influence on the grains with the dollar being lower. And basically that influence has been higher of late with the relatively thin trade volume within the grains. It allows it to have a greater influence. Global traders now convinced that the Fed, after last week's dismal jobs report, won't be able to raise interest rates. Maybe not until March of next year, and maybe not the second rate hike until 2017. So the dollar had priced in rate hikes, has had them priced in now for quite some months. And so with the new paradigm before them, they're starting to take that strength out of the dollar now, and that is good for commodities at these low prices.
Soybeans, Arlen, up again, but off of the highs today. What's your opinion of that market right now overall?
Well, as we look at many of the major advisory services, as well as many of the farmers out there with the good soybean yields we've been getting and with the big crop rating increase that we unexpectedly got on Monday because of those nice harvest results, we're probably more bearish overall as a trade on soybeans than we are on corn. So as a result, as those newly harvested soybeans come in, they're getting sold across the scales a little bit quicker than what is corn, particularly whenever we get up near that $9 mark. That's certainly where we've been this morning, up as high as $8.95.5 at times. That's close enough for many farmers. We're also bumping up against trendline resistance off of this summer's highs, and so that's also been a selling point for this market. So yes, it's positive, it's green, but we're starting to see that increased selling pressure for those factors.
Arlen Suderman is Senior Market Analyst at Water Street Solutions. The toll-free number there is 866-249-2528. Now the final numbers, the corn market, $3.9825 for December, up 4 3/4. March also went up 4 3/4 and finished at $4.08.5. Soybeans for November, $8.88, up 3 3/4, and January also up 3 3/4, settling at $8.92. December wheat, $5.2625, up $0.1075. And that's how the markets finished the day on Tuesday, and that is it for our morning edition here on Hoosier Ag Today on a Wednesday. I'm Andy Eubank. Thanks for listening. We do appreciate it. We're back later today with our midday podcast, an update on the grain markets and market analysis with Tom Fritz scheduled to join me from EFG Group in Chicago. The market's always available, too, at HoosierAgToday.com. Click on Markets or tap Markets at the mobile app for Apple and Android. This is Hoosier Ag Today, Indiana's Farm Network.